Welcome to Cool Talk and my 200 favorite films. Number 80, Birdman by Alejandro Iñárritu. It stars Michael Keaton, a once big action star who is now a washed-up actor trying to gain respect on Broadway, directing and starring in a play. As opening night approaches, he deals with a temperamental co-star, his resentful daughter, a threatening critic, and his own insecurity. He seems to try to seek the respect that he lost, trying to get fame as if fame validates his craft and equals respect. His daughter reminds him that in the grand scheme of things, none of us matter. This scares him, but he presses on as we all must. Now, the film was edited to look like one long, continuous take. That may sound gimmicky, but it works. The Keaton character may be insane, he may have superpowers, and the end is intentionally ambiguous. Sounds pretentious? Maybe, but it's fluid movie making and it's fun. To Kill a Mockingbird, the best adaptation of a novel that I can remember. It seems to be a nostalgic slice of life, but it's really a social commentary. It shows society as racist, violent, scheming, and unjust, but Gregory Peck plays Atticus Finch as a decent man trying to raise his children on his own. He is the voice of reason and compassion, exposing the sickness in the seemingly pleasant little town. Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. This film has such a cult following that if you say you didn't like it, the fans would say that you didn't get it. Well, art is subjective, and even if you do get it, doesn't mean you have to like it. Anyway, if you like ambiguous cerebral exercises, then you may love 2001. It starts with primitive man-apes struggling to survive. The ape men discover an alien slab later known as the monolith, which gives them intelligence, which they use to gather bones as hunting tools. However, instead of using this newfound tool to help each other, they turn on each other and fight over a water hole, signifying man's inability to get along and all future wars. One ape throws the bone into the sky. It becomes a spaceship, and now it's 2001. And here comes a long, boring sequence of space shuttles and stations docking and floating. But then comes the best part, as an AI computer named HAL turns on the crew. And when one crew member is shot into space to die, the absolute silence is terrifying. The last crew member travels through space-time, meets the monolith, which awakens him and evolves him into some kind of star child. Anyway, there are a lot of books written about the monolith and the subliminal messages and symbolisms. If you like cerebral exercises, go for it. Now, in Dr. Strangelove, Kubrick comes out again, but with all his subliminal mumbo-jumbo and symbolism, this time you'll laugh, as our world leaders and their stupidity brings us closer to World War III. The Soviets create a doomsday machine computer that will take over in case the military loses its nerve to annihilate all mankind. There are several phallic symbols stating man's sexual insecurities, causing him to assert his dominance. It's very cynical, it's scary, but it's hilarious. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Director Ang Lee makes a work of beautiful cinematography with choreographed martial arts and landscapes galore. Lee Mu-bai represses his love for Shu Ying, and his treacherous student Jen represses her anger at everyone else. Ang Lee has a theme of emotional repression in all of his movies, but here it is stated beautifully. Bonnie and Clyde. Bank robbers during the Great Depression become folk heroes. There are many funny scenes, which makes the sudden burst of violence even more startling. It's dated today, but was groundbreaking in its day, and it's worth a look. The Sting. A group of con men and small-time grifters in the 1930s set out to avenge the death of one of their own by swindling the most dangerous gangster in Chicago. Now, Robert Shaw is scary as the mobster, but this film belongs to the rakish charm of Paul Newman and Robert Redford. There are plenty of small swindles along the way that are hard to follow, but it's a great ride with an unexpected ending. Hercules, one of the last animated features before Pixar and DreamWorks took over with their computer-generated graphics. Great story, great music. Catch it. The Shining, Kubrick again. Bypassing all the subliminal messages and possible storylines about Native American genocide and the gold standard and the moon landing and all of that, what about the story? Well, Jack Nicholson is a caretaker who loses his mind because of cabin fever and possible ghost whisperings. Then he grabs an axe and chases his creepy son and hysterical wife all over the place. Now, keep in mind, the wife and child may have also gone crazy and started seeing ghosts. We don't know. Now, there's intentional overacting and the message that spouses secretly want to kill each other and that nothing frightens a child more than an angry parent. This is scary, but I have to admit, funny stuff. The Elephant Man. I am not an animal. I am a human being. I am a man. It's sad that a person is so deformed that he has to defiantly remind everybody that he is a person. Loosely based on the true story of John Merrick, who suffered a lifetime of abuse and was exhibited as a circus freak before he was exploited by doctors studying his case. Merrick then became a staple of high society England, and his final years were of relative happiness after a lifetime of humiliation. Dignity and courage win over the basic decency of most human beings. American Gangster, the story of heroin dealer Frank Lucas and Detective Richie Roberts. Denzel Washington plays the gangster as a modern-day Robin Hood who takes care of his neighborhood as he travels to Asia to personally buy, transport, and sell heroin, cutting out all the middlemen and becoming very rich. Interestingly enough, Frank Lucas is a family man who takes his mother to church, while Detective Roberts, played by Russell Crowe, turns down million-dollar bribes, but cheats on his wife even with a divorce lawyer. It's as if we focus on our good behavior to justify our bad behavior. Two powerhouse performances carry this epic true tale. A tie, Rocky Balboa and Creed. The Rocky series had become stale and superfluous, but Sylvester Stallone reclaimed his character and gave him the warmth that the original had so abundantly. Now, Rocky's son is a bit of an arrogant little douche, but that gives Rocky a chance to give him and all of us a wonderful little motivational speech. That his son distances himself from his father is sad, but it does help set up Creed. Now, Creed is an even better film directed by Ryan Coogler. Now, here Rocky accepts that all the glory fades, even the late ones, but it's Michael B. Jordan who is passed the baton as Adonis Creed, an angry, resentful young man with a lot to prove. There's a nice little romance that I hope they pursue if there's a sequel. There's also a fight in the middle of the film that was filmed in one take. It's director Coogler picking up and breathing life into a spent series. Inspiring. Fight Club. Edward Norton plays a businessman with a nice apartment who befriends Brad Pitt, a nihilist minimalist who liberates him from God knows what. A film about self-absorption and masochism, a protest against conformity and consumerism. And how do these guys protest? By pounding the crap out of each other. This is director David Fincher's dark, gritty ambiance on what is essentially a comedy. L.A. Confidential, 1950s Los Angeles, corrupt cops and politicians, broken dreams, starlets turned prostitutes, boozing celebrities, rich perverts. A decay lingers under the surface of the sunny city of angels. This movie jump-started the careers of Russell Crowe and Guy Pearce. Now, the story is complicated and begs for multiple viewings, so pay attention. Suffice to say that the smart cops turned out to be tougher than they seem, and the tough ones smarter than they think. Carlitos Way. Most gangster movies display the rise and fall of some criminal anti-hero. But Carlitos Way is different. It relates how a gangster, past his glory days, wants out, but his past cronies, as well as the young up-and-comers, want to latch onto him for criminal glory. Now, Pacino as Carlitos Brigante adds a great performance to his long list of film characters. He's weary. He tells his girlfriend, affectionately played by Penelope Ann Miller, that you can't sprint forever, that criminals don't rehabilitate, they just run out of wind. Now, this movie was directed by Brian De Palma, the same man who brought us Scarface and The Untouchables, and he knows how to stage a shootout. It's easy to underestimate the complex editing and angles and shots of basically a bunch of men shooting at each other, but De Palma is a master. And real quickly, I must say, Sean Penn also turns in a great performance. The Fugitive, based on a 1960s TV show, is the story of Dr. Richard Kimball, framed for the murder of his wife. He escapes prison and now has to catch his wife's killer before he himself is caught. It's exhilarating, intense, and intelligent. Tommy Lee Jones steals the show as the obsessed U.S. Marshal pursuing Dr. Kimball. Now, Harrison Ford is often underestimated as an emotional actor without much range, but don't be fooled. He displays a lot of emotion here, even while being chased. Always a step ahead. He provides a great ride. E.T., the extraterrestrial. An alien is stranded on Earth, and he befriends a lonely young boy named Elliot. Elliot first tells his siblings that he plans to keep E.T. as if E.T. was a pet, much like the scientists who hunt down the alien and want to study him like a lab rat. But Elliot grows affectionate for E.T., and this is a heartwarming story, indirectly exposing director Steven Spielberg's interest on children without a father. Henry Thomas gives a great performance as Elliot, as does Drew Barrymore, who was only 7. If you haven't seen it, treat yourself. E.T. is pure magic. An Officer and a Gentleman. Richard Gere plays Zach Mayo, the son of a low-life louse who wants to become a Navy officer and prove to himself some self-worth, some self-respect. He bumps head with a drill sergeant played by Oscar winner Lou Gossett and finds love with beautiful Deborah Winger. Now, the romance here is different from any movie that I can remember. It starts out with he looking for lust and she looking for some fun. Pure lust and fun, but it blooms into love. Unconventional, but Gere and Winger make it ring true. Love lifts us up where we belong indeed. Deliverance. 4 city slickers go canoeing in the mountains, but this idle vacation becomes a nightmare as hillbillies attack the men. And then even the river, once inviting, becomes dark and foreboding, as if turning against them. The film seems to want to say something about man's need to assert himself as the alpha male. The men want to tame the river. The mountain men want to tame them. Even the town, situated by all the natural beauty of the river, will be torn down in order to build a dam. Man further trying to establish dominance over the elements, not knowing that nobody can beat nature when it decides to strike back. Sunset Boulevard. Writer Joe Gillis is taken in by a washed-up actress, Norma Desmond. He loves the attention and the money, but he resents being put in that position. He meets Nancy, an aspiring writer, and he falls in love with her. If he could only get away from that old hag. Now, ambition clouds judgment in this movie, and even goody girl Nancy is engaged to somebody else. When Joe makes a move towards nobility, it is his undoing. There is no room for artistic integrity or honest intentions in this town. All this unpleasantness is made possible by the cast: William Holden, Gloria Swanson, and Nancy Olson. Well, don't stop there. Continue the countdown on my next video. And enjoy. This is Cool Talk.